All right, you're listening to 91.5 WUML Lowell Blues Deluxe, and it's my honor and pleasure to have Seth James on with me today. Hello
Thanks
there,
for having
Seth.
me.
How are
Thanks
you?
for having. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're located in Western Texas, am I correct?
Well, that's where I spent most of my time.
Yep.
Nowadays, I'm south of Austin in New Braunfels, Texas, between Austin and San Antonio, and so I've been there about 15 years.
So what's that like to be in that area? There's a lot of great musicians and music in that area, Austin especially.
Yeah, that's has a lot to do with why I live here. That's not really part of the world that I grew up in, and so you'd have to go a long way to find music or musicians or anything music related. So it's kind of hard to do this and be out there, but it is wonderful to be out there. But New Braunfels is great. We have Green Hall here, lots of deep musical traditions, and a lot of musicians and a lot of good ones.
So where you grew up, there wasn't much, huh? There wasn't much music, or was there?
No, there was no music. It was just
No
cowboy
music.
stuff.
Wow,
No
no
music.
music.
Yeah. No, I mean we didn't, we didn't spend time in the house, so we didn't watch TV. And my stepdad, he really didn't even listen to the radio. I mean, he listened to the farm report, and we just were outside doing cowboy stuff all the time. If you wanted to see live music, which I really at the time, other than rodeo dances, western swing bands, I'd never really seen much. So to get to a venue or a club, you'd have to go 90 miles from my house. So we didn't do a lot of that.
So how'd you get into music if you didn't really listen to a lot of it? Where did it all start from? Where'd you
Well,
go ahead?
music was everywhere in my life because I sought it out. My
People,
older brother,
I'm gonna say that you have to sort it out. You have to go find it because a
yeah,
lot of people don't realize there's a lot of great music out there if they don't go out and find it.
absolutely, especially when you're young and you're kind of defining what music means to you, and you're just being fed what's given to you through the radio. There's really no opportunity for you to make the
Yeah,
choice.
yeah.
I was lucky. My older brother, he lived in Galveston. We lived totally different lives. I graduated a class of two people and drove 20 miles to school, and he was in one of the biggest high schools in Texas and drove a Volkswagen van, had long hair, and listened to rock and roll. So we would mail letters and share music, and um, I I got exposed to everything really in those kind of short 10 years, whether it was class Credence or Leon Russell or Amazing Rhythm Aces or Eric Clapton or Jimi Hendrix. All that music kind of came to me all at one time, and most of that started with him. And then I started reading the back of things and digging and getting obsessed about it.
Well, there you got
But it was
country
just for
music.
me.
Galveston was the country music capital.
Well, not at least not then. Galveston was um, the Gulf Coast in general, at least in the late 80s and through the 90s, lots of blues clubs and lots of great blues players that were just regional to that spot. They were great. People like um, uh, Mark May and Burt Wheels. And
I've interviewed Mark May. I know who he is.
yeah, yeah. Mark was from down there in Houston, Houston, Beaumont. Johnny Winter, all that stuff. All that still
Yep.
was happening, but not so much now. But I didn't really get the only country music exposure I got was on the radio, um, and then
You're
of course
kidding me. You're kidding me.
no, no, no.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
you would think so, but we were just outside working all the time.
Yep.
I mean, it just wasn't part of our world. But there, Jody Nix was the musician that played all the dances. And all the dances, as far as I was concerned, most of them were after rodeo. So we'd go and do rodeo stuff, whatever that was, and then we'd all go to the dance and stay up late and try not to get in trouble. And Jody Nix would play Bob Wills music, and he's an old school swing guy. His dad, Hoyle Nix, and
Yep.
Bob were,
Yep.
you know, but that was kind of it, and that wasn't, 7,
So
8 times a year.
so when did blues come into this whole thing? How did that all come about with you?
Well, I got introduced. I think by accident, because a lot of times I would buy records by looking at the covers. I just didn't know what I was getting into. And I found Lightning Hopkins, which strangely enough led me to Muddy Waters, kind of backwards. And then I really started digging through Elmore James when Clapton's, I'm aging myself here, but when Clapton put out a record called From the Cradle, which was in the 90s,
Yep.
a lot of those artists, those songs, I didn't know who they were.
So you
And
went and found out who they were, I bet.
like, yeah, now who wouldn't want to know who Freddie King is? I mean, Freddie King, I've been ripping Freddie King off since then. So that's just one example. But anytime I got a record, especially that one, because every record was a different artist, some more, unknown
Yep.
blues artists, but great record. But yeah, it moved me and I chased it. But it was my own thing. I didn't share it with anybody else. My
Yep.
friends didn't listen
Yep.
to that stuff. They were listening to Tracy Lawrence.
It's all right.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Yeah, and I
No.
did too. But I saved all that Muddy Waters and stuff for me.
And when did you decide you wanted to be a professional musician?
Well, when I left home in the late mid '90s, I was working at a guitar store so that I could buy the guitar that was in there. It's the only reason I got the job there. There was a white Strat on the wall, and I thought, oh, if I have that, I'll sound like Jimmy Vaughn. Well, that didn't work, but I did work.
That didn't work.
I did. It didn't. Yeah, apparently it took more than just a guitar. And I worked, and I bought that guitar, and the old men that ran that place, they would jam at night and drink beer and eat pizza and lock the store up. And so kind of started doing that and thought, well, man, I can have a knack for this. And then long story short, I ended up sitting in with one of my heroes not long after I just kind of got going in Galveston at the place called the Strand Street Saloon, artist Bobby Mack and the Night Train.
I know who Bobby Mack is.
Bobby is one of my best friends now, but he was one of my heroes and one of the first guys I ever got on stage with. But 90, 97 probably. It's 2000 or so before I made more than $10 in tips, but it was a good time.
There you go. So tell me about your relationship with Delbert McClinton. It's everywhere, I see, with you.
Well, they definitely run that up the flagpole, which I'm excited and proud about. Delbert was one of the first musicians that I heard when I was still back at home. And to be honest with you, that probably was the first time I ever really thought about creating music. I never thought about being on stage or being, all that stuff. I just wanted to make music. And when I heard Delbert McClinton's Solid Gold Plated Fool, I can't remember what record that was on. I mean, I was in junior high,
Yeah.
and so he was always a hero. I had all his music, and he was from Lubbock originally, which blew my mind. I thought, how could somebody from out here do that? He was breaking all the rules, B3s and horns, and just doing what he wanted. But strange twist of fate. I did some shows with Leroy Parnell, and we became friends. And I began traveling to Nashville and staying with him and writing with him and hanging out. And then I met Kevin McKendry, who plays.
I know who he is. I know who he is.
Well, good there. And Kevin and I started writing not long after that, kind of unrelated, but I started going out on tour with Delbert, opening shows. And I was out there with him for probably several weeks before I ever got the nerves to speak to him. But and now we're friends, and it's bizarre, but he's been really good to me.
What was that like, touring with him? Tell me a story about a touring story.
Okay, let me filter them real quick. Now, that was a really good time because the band, all Delbert's band, and I think they say Delbert's had over several hundred musicians in his bands over the years, for real. But that band in particular, Steve Mackey, Kevin McKendry, Lynn Williams, Rob McNally, they were still leaning forward. I mean, it was something else. It was really high energy. And it's the first time I had been around that caliber of musician where everybody was just doing all the right things, and getting an opportunity to watch Delbert and how he leads the band. So that really changed me. It sobered me up and made me go, "Ah, I'm going to have to really dig deeper and learn more about how to play with other humans."
Well, you were
Like these
learning.
cats.
You were
I
learning
was
as you were going, right?
every night, every night. Trying to think of there's a couple good stories from that. Um, every night was kind of the same. He was playing theaters, and so they all had a side door, and the bus seemed like it was always parked right there, and it was just a Groundhog Day. And so we had played, and I'm standing outside looking in the theater next to the bus, and I was smoking a cigarette. And Delbert, I saw him walk off the bus, and I still hadn't bothered him. I just didn't want to do that. And I'm looking straight, and I can see him coming straight to me. And I'm like, okay, here we go. How are we going to do this? And then he just looks at me, and he looks at my cigarette. He didn't say anything. And I got a cigarette out and gave it to him, and he just walked off. He didn't say anything. And I thought, well, this might not go so well, or that's the rub, you know. I didn't think much of it. Well, that happened the next 4 nights, just like that. And then the last one, I had probably a few cold drinks in me, maybe more than usual. And
So you were ready to say something, right?
well, I'd say something. It might not have been the right thing. And he came over to me, and he just looked at me, and I just looked at him. I didn't do anything. And then he kind of elbowed me, and he said, "Give me a cigarette." And I said, "Get your own cigarette." And he goes, "There you go." And he walked off. He did that for 4 or 5 days, you know, but stuff like that, you know, they just want to make sure that you're not a softy, that you
Yeah.
can handle it, you know. And so since then we've enjoyed each other's company.
That's a great story you just told.
The other one, we were playing at the House of Blues in New Orleans, and gentleman that was playing bass with me, I had been playing with him since I started playing on stage, you know, since we were kids, or, you know, young. And the drummer was my biological father, who was a good bar rock and roll drummer. He was a solid drummer, but he was kind of an outlaw, a little bit of a mess. And so we'd been out for however long, and I was sitting in the real nice dressing room upstairs at House of Blues, and I was sitting there by myself, and I saw him Delbert walk down the hall, and then he backed up and he looked in the room, and he came in, just sat right across from me. He said, "You'll be pretty good. Your band is terrible. You need to fire them." And then just got up and walked out.
So how did that make you feel when he said that?
Well, I knew what he meant. I did, and he doesn't suffer fools, and he knew I could sort out what that meant in West Texas poetry. So a little bit of the hair stood up on my neck, kind of like, well, that's my friend and that's my dad. But ultimately, I ain't playing with him anymore. Yeah, no, it was just one of those. I want to do you a favor, and I think I think what he meant to say was, you need to be playing with people who are better than you. And we were all the same. And ever since then, everybody that's in my band now, they're way better musicians than I am, and it makes my job so easy.
So he was right.
He's always been right. Don't tell him I said that. Like he said, ain't I got a right to be wrong?
So tell me about this band, The Departed, you were part of for a while.
Oh man, that was some rowdy business. Some friends of mine that were down here in New Braunfels, they had one of the bigger bands well, for sure in Texas, but they were a huge band, and they broke up, which was a big deal down here and a lot of places. And I think it was more of a kind of a side project that we just kind of put together. We didn't think it was going to be a thing, but it kind of was there for a little while, and it kind of went from being something that I was involved in to something that we were touring all the time, which was an absolute blast. If we did anything, we had fun, and we played loud, and I think it yeah, just ran its course, but we sure we sure put some decibels out there.
So you have a few recordings, some records that have been out
Hmm.
for a few years. Three of them, I think, that I saw. You
Well, I've
haven't.
tried to
Go ahead.
bury a few of them. Yeah, I think I've probably five,
Five
five or
total.
six, five or
Yep.
six now. But I let that first one just slowly disappear from existence as best I could. But we'll see if it ever pops back up.
Why? Was it that bad?
Well, no, I still have people that talk about that record all the time, which I love. But I think more than anything, it's just when you have to listen to the youngest, most inexperienced version of yourself, you're just hearing all the things you untrained yourself to do. It's a little hard sometimes.
Well, think about what you just said. You have people tell you how much they like the first record. That
Yeah.
should tell you something about where you're at today, too.
Yeah. No, it and it does. It makes me happy. It only happens every few years, but sometimes there'll be a break in the action. I'll hear somebody from the crowd holler out one of those songs that I wouldn't even remember.
Surprise,
Yeah, I
surprise,
love
right?
that. Yeah, and I'll stop and find out who it is and see if I remember them from those days. But yeah, sometimes you when you have a catalog, at some point you got to reach back and grab this and that. But I've never reached back that far.
So currently, who's in your band? The current band.
The band is Trevor Nealon on keys, Clint Simmons on drums, Nick J on bass, um, and then the trumpet player is Steve Butts. Tenor sax is Matt Maldonado. And Barry sax is Eric Hargett, and then myself. And they are something else.
All from where you are? Or are they all from different places?
They're all from around. Trevor's been in Austin for a long time. He's in the band of Heathens, as well as Nick, the bass player, and the drummer. I guess we'd say we share bands. They've lost some band members over the years, and so um, let's see. The trumpet player's from New Zealand, but he's been in Austin a long time. And yeah, I mean, we're all pretty much live right around Austin, give her 50 miles or so.
So what's the? I know Austin's a big music town, but places around the Austin area. You play a lot of different places, or specifically Austin.
In the Austin area, we play a place called Sam's Town Point. It's down in South Austin. It's not in the mix of all the noise, and it is a special place. Whatever Austin was like in the 60s and 70s, it's still just like that at Sam's. It's very music centered. The gentleman that owns it, Ramsey Midwood, is a great musician, and he does a good job. And then outside of New Braunfels, of course, we have Green Hall here, which is a famous venue. We play a lot. But I do a residency in Austin and a residency at a place called the Devil's Backbone Tavern, which is in right outside of New Braunfels.
Yeah, I like the name of that. I like the name of that place.
It's a cool place. We've kind of traded that for Green Hall. It's not touristy, and people only come out there to hear you play music because it's off the beaten path. And of course, everybody says they're the oldest honky tonk in Texas, but I'm pretty sure it's the oldest still standing um, uh, out there. It's actually in Fisher, but that's not even a place. It's just a spot in the road. But Charlie Robinson and Bruce Robinson's sister, Robin, she bought that place years ago and saved it, and it's got a lot of mojo.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a real joint.
So Antone's, is it still around or gone?
No, Antone's still around. It's when I moved, I lived in Austin for a bit. When I first moved there, Austin was on 6th and Lavaca, and it's probably moved 4 times since then. And now it's on 6th Street. And it seems like that location's working out, and they're up to business as usual. They have everything there. It's not quite as, the history of that room is blues for sure, but the club itself is not really blues centered. They'd probably go under again.
Well, like the House of Blues used to be
Yeah,
originally
yeah,
all blues, and it's not anymore.
yeah. Maybe somebody will have another Stevie Ray Vaughan type effect. Somebody come along and make it popular. But yeah, no, it's something else.
So you have a new record coming out called Motormouth in about a week. Actually, April 1st it comes out. I want to
Yep.
ask you about the cover. I've seen the cover of that record, and I want to know how that came. I want you to explain the cover to the listening audience because it's fascinating how you have a whole calf, and you're inside it. How did that come about?
Well, I think several ways. Usually when it comes to album covers, I either have a very clear idea of what it needs to be, or I'm just lost.
Well, compared to the last four records, this one's completely different. I mean, the cover,
It
I
is,
was like blown away when I saw the cover. I went, wow.
yeah, I wanted something different. You know, the last one, you gotta give the labels a win every once in a while, and they want your face on records. And so I've done that twice. I shy away from that because most of the time when people see that, they think, oh, that's country music. I don't like country music. So then, that kind of thing. But the oh Lord mercy, lost my thread.
Well, let me explain to the audience what I'm actually saying. There's a picture, is a side view of the cow, and you are
Yeah,
sitting on the inside of the cow,
I'm driving it.
driving it. Right?
Yeah, that I think was it Good Life. I had Paul Thorne do the art, and I didn't give him any direction at all. I knew how it was going to go. We just got on the phone and visited about stuff, and he incorporated it. And my kids saw that, and the blue people with no clothes on in the trailer park, and they just thought, you're crazy. And I got more people giggling and enjoying that cover. This one, I was stuck. I had no idea what to do. A musician friend of mine, a great artist named Red Shahan. Um, he's a great visual artist. He draws crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I had seen a picture that he had drawn of Hunter S. Thompson in a shark or something crazy like that. And so I just got to visit him about that, and that's where we ended up. And so Red Shahan did that.
Yeah, I want a copy. I want that for my archive of music. A
It's
copy
pretty
of
far
that.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. It's a great cover. I mean, it's something that people will talk about when they see it.
Yeah, we just wanted it to be something that was not just a placeholder, something people could visit about, even if they didn't like the record. They'd be, well, I sure like the cover.
So tell me about the record a little bit. It's coming out April 1st. Tell me
April
a little.
1st.
Yeah. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about what's in the record, the new record.
This record, if I was saying, what's different about this one is I think it's broader stylistically. I think it's a little more grown up without being too mature. But there's a little bit of everything in music that has influenced me. That whole gamut, whether it's we did a song with the Time Jumpers, who are really the epicenter of all things real Western swing, all the way to pretty straight up slow blues stuff, and then the funky stuff, and then even kind of an American songbook kind of classic style song, and I wanted to do all that, but have it make sense, have it be natural. Yep. And not trying to get any gold stars, just to make sure that all the songs were songs that sounded like me top to bottom. And with that kind of range, it can be tricky, but with that band, it's not.
Wow. So how do people find out about where to get the record?
You can go to SethJamesMusic.com, and you can get it right off there. Of course, iTunes and any place that you can buy or stream. I'm selling out to all of them, so you can pretty much find it anywhere.
So where do you see yourself in the band in the next couple of years?
Well, hopefully still doing it and playing for more people. The more people I can play for, the faster this ball rolls down the field. It's every time I get this band in front of humans, it almost doesn't. Oh, I'm sorry. It almost doesn't matter what what the crowd is, what they're leaning stylistically in. Pretty much every situation with this band, we can put some smiles on people's faces, and I know the value of that. So I just hope we can keep getting out there in front of more people and spreading the love.
I was reading in your bio you're an NRBQ fan too.
Oh man, yes, I love Al Anderson. What a funny guy.
That's where some of the funk comes from too, I bet.
Yeah, especially the what I call like the quirky funk, or cartoon funk. There's a lot of that in RBQ, not just because of Al, but Al's playing in general. Just always had a sense of probably half danger and half humor, and it always was kind of made you turn your head a little bit. So stuff like Motormouth or that real warbly vibrato effect, that's all stuff that I rip off from Al. Literally.
And you mentioned Lightning Hopkins, who I'm a big fan of. Always have been a big fan of all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff from all periods of his career. He was just incredible, Lightning Hopkins.
He was. Yeah. It just come right out of him. Didn't matter what kind of shape he was in. Once he started, it just came out.
And who else? Who other people in Texas blues guys that have you emulated over the years, other than Lightning Hopkins?
Oh man, so pretty much all of them. Of course, T-Bone, um, Freddie.
Freddie
There's
King.
some guys down. Yeah, Freddie King. There's some guys down here. Of course, there's Jimmy and Stevie, and especially when you're young, and that's all so exciting. But Bobby Mack, I took a lot from Bobby Mack. Stephen Bruton, I've learned some really important things from him. Of course, he's passed on, but he was part of that Dallas-Fort Worth collective Delbert world, and so people like James Pennebaker, who played with Delbert for a long time, those guys are still around, so I'm still stealing from them. Sean Pittman is a great
I've interviewed him. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy, and he's a great player. And of course, Anson Thunderbird, who's one of my dearest friends, and he'll show you anything,
Yeah.
So it's just kind of endless. There's so many great guitar players down here.
I think Anson's smooth as silk when he plays.
He is. There's nobody better than Anson. He is what you want, he sounds like Anson, and nobody else can do that,
When Sam Myers passed away, I felt bad because he and the Rockets would just kill her together.
Yeah, that was a hard loss, I'm sure, for all those people. But Anson, he's out a lot. Him and Sean and Mike Morgan from Mike Morgan
I know Mike Morgan too very well.
I love Mike, and so those three, that makes sense. They're all super guys, and they've been going to Europe a lot, and I did a show with Sean Pittman at Billy Bob's in Fort Worth here a few months ago, and he'd been around a long time. He was slinging guitar when I moved to Austin. I was still trying to figure out how to put strap buttons on right,
Sean and I had a great interview with him. He was talking about his whole career with me.
Yeah, he's been doing it a long time, and he sounds better now than ever. I mean, he's the real deal. I mean, he really is the real deal.
Do you get out of Texas at all and tour anywhere other than within Texas?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, less than I'd like to, and less than I used to. But especially when it comes to festivals. We do a lot of out-of-state festivals. I say a lot. We'll always do more. But those are usually what those are. We usually fly in and do various festivals of sorts.
How about overseas? Have you ever been over there?
Yeah, I went to Germany with The Departed, and I've been to Ireland a few times.
Wow.
But other than that, the Germany part was fun. It was because we worked a lot and we drove. That's a big place, and so all the gigs were 6 hours apart, and we played every night, and so we only found a little time to get in trouble. But when we were in Ireland, we got in plenty of trouble. It was a good time.
So again, tell everybody how they can find out about you
You can find out where we're playing at sethjamesmusic.com, and you can also order the record directly from Qualified Records there, or you can get it anywhere they sell music or stream it.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Seth, I just want to say thank you very much for taking some time out of your busy life.
Yes, sir.
And I look forward to, if you ever come up north to the New England area, come on in and see me at the radio show.
I would love that.
We have a live studio if you want to come play.
Even better. Well, if I'm coming, then I'm playing.
All right. Sounds good.
Good. Thank you, John.
Seth, thank you. And look forward to hearing the new record and see how it does.
Yes, sir. I hope you dig it.
Thank you. Have a great
Yes,
day.
sir. Yes, sir. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.